Hello everyone, in today's video I am going to show you how you can checkmate with a rook and a king. Now many people think that it is very hard, but in fact it is one of the easiest endgame checkmates in chess. So let's get started. This is the position that I have on the board, and though there are many ways to mate with a rook and a king, I'm going to show you the one that is best for myself. Okay, so let's start. King e2, trying to get our rook to d3, king c4, rook d3, king c5, king e3, king c4, king e4. Now I'm going to tell you one thing about how to checkmate with a rook and a king. It is that try to get the black king into a corner, and then you can checkmate him using the properties of chess. King c5, rook d4, king c6, rook d5. Notice how with each move the box for the king gets smaller. Now king b6, king d4, king c6, king c4, king c7, king b5, king b7, rook c5, king a7, rook c6, king b7, king c5, king a7, rook b6, king a8, king c6, king a7, king c7, king a8, and rook a6 mate. Now let's go over these moves and look at what black can do in different manners. After king e2, he doesn't have to go to c4. He can do king d5 as well. If king d5, then we have king d3, preparing our rook to go on e4, king c5, rook e4, king d5, king e3, king c5, rook d4, king c6, king e4, king c5, king e5, king c6, rook d5, king c7. Now you can also play rook to d6, but I personally believe that king to e6 is better. King c6, rook e5. Now this is a waiting move, as these two squares can be controlled by our king, and this whole file is controlled by our rook. Notice now that even this square, so the king has been controlled to these 9 squares, and that's our aim, to try and get the opponent king into a corner and keep closing his box. So after rook e5, he'll go king c7 and king d5. Now king d5 stops his king coming to c6. So he'll do king b7, rook e6, king c7, rook d6, king b7, rook c6, king a7, king c5, king b7, king b5, king a7, rook b6, king a8, king c6, king a7, king c7, king a8, and rook a6 mate. Okay, so now let's see. After king e2, he doesn't have to go to c4 or d5. He can also go to c5. That's the worst move in this position that black can do. Why, you ask? Well, it's the worst move because it immediately, after rook d3, it immediately closes the box. Now he just limited to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 and 15 squares. This might seem like a lot, but it isn't when you compare to the 64 squares on a chessboard. So now we use the same principle we learned earlier, and we eventually checkmate the black king. Notice we put another waiting move here like we did here. This is a waiting move since these two squares are controlled by the king and these three squares are controlled by our rook. And now the king is limited to these 8 squares. So that's our aim. Try and get the king into the smallest number of squares that you can limit him to and just checkmate him. Now you see rook b5 check isn't such a good move because it doesn't close any squares and it allows the king to escape. So now we have to stop him with rook d5. King b6, rook c5. Now when the king is on a6, then we can go to b5. It's moving. That check. Now you see here that the king is limited to only these two squares. So we can take advantage of this and place our rook on h6, forcing the king to go on a8, and then we have the mate with rook a6 mate. Thank you everyone. This is how you can checkmate with a rook and a king. Hope you liked it. Bye.